Now, see, this is why you got to be careful about who you get married to, okay? Not because of the things that you might go through in the marriage, but because of the things that you might go through in the divorce, okay? How is it that this divorce is lasting way longer than the marriage ever could have? Riddle me that. Of course, we're talking about our girl Kenya Moore. So we got a news update on Kenya Moore, and then we got to talk about the recap for Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3. The finale aired yesterday. So we're gonna sort of do a little brief recap of that today. So, first things first, let's get into the news, of course. Our friends over at the Jasmine brand have reported that Kenya Moore's ex Marc Daly has been dropped by his divorce lawyer weeks before the trial. Now, when is the trial set for? Let's talk about it. All right. So the trial is scheduled for May 22nd, right before Memorial Day weekend. Okay. Now, apparently, at the point that Mark was dropped, this was told to us by Radar Online, and we're getting it by way of the Jasmine brand. He had 10 days, okay, to object to her motion. As far as we know, there's been no objection. And he will now be responsible for preparing for trial and hiring a new lawyer. The proceedings to be held on May 22nd will not be affected by the lawyer's withdrawal. For those of you guys who may have forgotten, Kenya filed for divorce from Marc Daly in May of 2021. Now, in the petition, she listed the date of separation as September 19th of 2019, and that they had been living in a bona fide state of separation since that date. All right. Apparently, Mark agreed to the divorce and with Kenya having primary custody, but he did demand joint legal custody. All right. Now, you guys also recall Mark had tried to block Brooklyn from being able to appear on the Real Housewives of Atlanta without his approval. But the judge ended up allowing Kenya to film, but said that Mark had input on the films that she shot. Okay. The judge wasn't convinced that, based on the evidence, that Kenya would ever place Brooklyn in any environment that might not be in the child's best interest or may in any way be considered dangerous or inappropriate. All right. You also know that in the divorce, Mark said he believed Kenya owed him a cut of the home that they shared, but Kenya purchased the home before they got married. Mark also demanded that Kenya pay his legal bills in the case. Now, all this is still ongoing. Why is it still ongoing? I don't know. But I can bet you there's probably nobody who is ready for this thing to be over more so than Miss Kenya Moore. Okay. With the new season approaching, with the trial approaching, I am sure we will be hearing more about this story. But I just thought I would keep you guys updated on what is going on with this. We should know sooner rather than later how this all will shake out. Okay. And being dropped by your lawyer is not a good sign. Let me just let you know that. Now, ain't no legal analyst. Norman, where's our legal analyst? All right. Until we get one, y'all just gonna have to take the word from me, and the article links in the description down below. So, with that being said, let's talk about Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. Okay, so we are at the final episode of this season of the franchise. And overall, let me give you guys my thoughts on the season overall, and then I'll give you a rating for the episode. As I was watching this episode, and it's probably going to be the reason for my rating, I'm going to actually, like, for me, I questioned when I saw initially the casting rollout. As you guys may recall, Tinsley, who was on the Real Housewives of New York, was supposed to be the buddy for Leah from Real Housewives of New York City from their time on the show. But, apparently Tinsley backed out. Word on the curb, allegedly, I don't know. Well, we'll just say that we heard Tinsley backed out. I've heard some rumblings as to the reasons why, but I cannot confirm what I've heard. So I just want to, I'm going to leave that silent for right now. But what I will say is this, adding Portia to the mix definitely made this show what it was. Okay. Portia brought an effervescent energy, whereas I felt like from Portia's Family Matters, she might have left a little bit of a bad taste in people's mouths because of some of the things that were shown on that show. So I did feel like it was refreshing to have her back on this show, um, in the way of just fun, pure fun, right? Because Portia is fun, whether you like her or not. I think she's fun. I do think based on the interactions that the producers did choose the right group of women for this particular franchise. Because I was like, what is it going to give? And each season of the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip has definitely had its own distinct flavor. I will say I felt like season 2 was probably the best. I mean, the chaos was insane from start to finish. That's just my personal opinion. Season 1 was great. Don't get me wrong. Season 1 was ultimate, but I think that there was something about season 2 that just the chaoticness of it just kept me in like, what the F is going on, right? So this season to me, I felt had its own distinct flavor, felt distinctly different. So for that reason, as I was watching this episode, I watched it without making notes because I was like, I just want to watch this episode and see if I really enjoy it, right? Because sometimes I feel like I'm watching episodes of shows and I feel like I'm not really watching the show. I feel like I'm making note of what's happening, but I'm not really enjoying the show. So I was eating my little food or whatever, and I was watching the show, and I was like, this is actually rather enjoyable to sit back and just watch and gather. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna hit the highlights of the episode, and we're gonna talk about those. And feel free to leave me your comments and things that you noticed in the description. Well, not in the description, in the comment section of this video. One of the things that I noticed, let me give you my rating. My rating for this episode is going to be a 9.5. I felt good about the way this ended, and I felt kind of a sense of relief that it was over, to be honest with you, because I was like, I don't know how many more days I can take of this. But I did feel like it ended on a very interesting note. One of the biggest things that has been a through line of this season has been this stolen bottle of Casa Azul. We talked about this at length before, okay? The Casa Azul. So somebody has swiped it. Now, we will get some resolve for this, I think. But before we get there, we got to do a little theater regarding this. So Giselle, they're going to go out for lunch. Giselle has a poster board. Y'all remember when Giselle and Robin was clowning Wendy for bringing those poster board receipts of the text messages between Wendy and Robin about, allegedly trying to see if they could sue for talking about Wendy's husband or something like that? Y'all remember that during the reunion? Chime down in the chat if you remember that, because I remember it. So Giselle bringing out this poster board of the Casa Azul at the lunch. I felt like, girl, like you was just clowning somebody else for doing this, and now you taking a page out of her book and you doing it too. Okay, cool. But I get it. Again, it's theater, right? It's theater. But see, this is what I think. This is where Giselle's defense mechanism is usually to, whether she is or she isn't, feign being unbothered, right? So when Wendy pulled out this poster board, and I'm going somewhere with this, so walk with me down the aisle. As Wendy's pulling out these poster board receipts, she's just over it, like, oh my God, how desperate can you be? You guys remember that, right? So then for her to wheel out this, have Pepsi do it, wheel out the poster. I was like, well, ain't this a little bit? Okay, ain't this a little bit? You didn't take it from someplace else. Okay, let's go with it, because it's theater. And when I say it's theater, it means this is extra, it's pretend, it's something done for the sake of doing something dramatic, right? So it's theater. So we got this theater going on. And it seems kind of like more in fun at this point than anything else, because I'm not taking it seriously. It seems like half the ladies aren't taking it seriously. So she goes down the list, and it's they're holding court like it's court for Jen Shaw, which I was like, "Eek." Anyway, so basically she lands on Candiace, and she's using herself as a witness that Candiace would not let anybody go into her room to to search for this bottle of Casa Azul. I'm like, girl, I can't believe we still talking about this Casa Azul. Like, we talking about this Casa Azul like it was her Rolex or something. So anyway, so that is the basis for which she and Candiace are now having this huge argument. They are literally arguing again. And I think the thing that was interesting to me is that Candiace Candiace is in tears at this point, because she's like, how could you accuse me of stealing something from you and you call yourself my friend? And Candiace reveals, well, she says, I have watched you. I think she said, I have watched you lie on people. I have watched you do all kinds of things to people. And I was just waiting for the day when you would do it to me, but you did it to my family. And I was thinking to myself, so you did realize who you were dealing with all this time. You did know what you were getting yourself into by aligning yourself with her. I felt like so many of us could see this from a mile away, way back when. Okay. So I'm not surprised that it happened to Candiace. I guess a part of me is so surprised that she's surprised. But now I found out that she really wasn't surprised. So I'm like, again, it is always, and I feel like we've talked about this. I have honestly fallen in love with Candiace's character on Potomac, because I felt like she has, for me, I feel like she has progressed. I feel like she gives, whether she is yelling, crying, or got a tissue to her eyes, she's at least giving us something that we can feel, right? Whether we like it or not. And as I told Chris Bassett, I said, that was my aha moment in that interview. Y'all are giving us, like, this is whatever the reaction is, no matter how big, no matter how dramatic, it is a very real thing. So you can't say that for everyone. And so that is one of the reasons why I feel like I've fallen in love with her character, like the person she is on the show, because a lot of times we think we know these people, right? And I want to make it clear that I'm talking about who these people are on these shows, right? And sometimes on social media, depending on how they interact with people. I do for real think that all this is a job for Giselle. So she knows she has an idea of what she's going to do. She clocks into work. And whether she takes things too far or not, I feel like that's what it is to her. I feel like she leaves the job when she's done. She clocks out, she goes home, and she goes on vacation. Okay? Because if you see her online, she's always on vacation. So I feel like she's living her life. In real life, unbothered by the chatter on the socials about her, right? I mean, which could be a healthy way to live. I don't know. But what I will say is, like, for Candiace, I think the lesson that we take away here is without the without seeing a growth in someone, beyond that, we have to look at them and say, wow, if you did this to her, if you did this to her, I could potentially be next. And I just think you got to look at that. You have to look. I mean, if you don't, just this is just something I feel like we learn as we get older and we grow. I mean, based on experience, like without looking at that person and thinking this person has grown. Sometimes we can look at a person and think, oh, I've seen this person do this to them, but I know why they did it to them. You know what I'm saying? Or I didn't like them, so it worked for me. You know what I'm saying? But at a certain point in time, you got to also realize, like, oh, it's coming for me too. So you gotta wrap your mind around how you're gonna deal with that when it happens. Um, so we leave basically the group consensus is they don't have enough evidence to really blame anybody. And we'll get back to this bottle of Casa Azul later. But it's sad. It's sad for Candiace, I think, because I genuinely think she thought that Giselle was her good girl, like big sister almighty. I do think she thought that. Um, I just can't say that I ever felt like that. I can't say that. And it's no knock against Giselle. It's just that I never saw that. I felt like it was not real. It might have been real on one side. I don't know if it was real on the other, but it is what it is. All of this results in the realization that Marisol too has had some items stolen. Okay, yes, indeed. They didn't stole her coffee that she made with her mama before her mama passed. And these were like of only a few boxes of the coffee that she had left, and she was gonna give them to the girls. And I'm thinking to myself, Marisol, these girls don't deserve that coffee. Okay, you should have left that coffee at home. It's somebody running her up around that's them sweets, stealing drinks and coffees and cappuccinos and shots and things. Now, Giselle might have been on the right path with Whitney and Heather. Okay, now Heather gave us all that theater about Giselle being the mean girl, but Giselle might have been on the right path. We're gonna talk about that in a minute. So this prompts Marisol, and for some reason, Alexia is like annoyed at Marisol, and is like, "Girl, ain't nobody thinking about your coffee. We don't even know if you actually really brought it. Who can tell because you drinking so much?" It was bad. Really, they just annoyed at each other because what I didn't realize was that I guess I did realize it, but I didn't pay that much attention to it. They were stuck in the room together. Why would y'all stick these two adult women in the room together? I mean, other than for them to slowly um slowly but surely wither into you can't be in a room with no listen, when you adults, you can't don't nobody want to be in a room with another grown adult at adult ages unless that's your man, your girl, your partner, your lover, your entanglement. You don't feel like being stuck in a room with no other grown person. That's for them college days, okay? That's them straight out of college days, them spring break days. You know what I'm saying? Them listen, when you low on the budget days. And y'all know I know. Ain't nothing wrong with being low on the budget, but that's for, but when I'm going on the internationals and the network is putting me up, I don't want to be in another room with another individual. I want to, if I gotta give y'all theater all day, I can't come back to my suite and then gotta look at somebody I've been with all day. No, I don't want to do that. No, who wants to do that for 8 days? Shame on them. Or not, because it gave us some TV. So anyway, you know, um, the next round of theater is Leah gets out of the hospital. Praise God, praise Jesus. This girl has been through it. Oh my God, she's been through it. Oh my God. Turns out she had a virus, and so That's that. It's time for dinner. All right. And Pepsi, the concierge, they be talking to Pepsi like they be treating him like he is volunteering his services. You want like they be wondering like, oh, why he dressing me? Why he giving me this and that? And I'm like, girl, don't you know that's what the concierge is supposed to do? That man is doing his job, and he getting some TV time too, crying and things, but he's getting some TV time. So anyway, I was like, y'all don't know this man here to work. He not here because he just here for his pleasure or yours. This man is probably collecting a coin. All right. So anyway, they get ready for dinner or whatever, and it's at this little nice little posh spot on the water. And dinner is going good. And then Alexia is like, well, Whitney, you was dancing on a pole and you smoked the ganja, on the TV and stuff like that. How you do that and your kids be watching the TV and they didn't found your bong and things like that? How does that work? And I do think that there was a slight bit of curiosity in where Alexia was going with it, but I think it was also laced in a little bit of judgment. Chime down in the chatterization. Did y'all think that Alexia was being judgy, or did you feel like she was really being genuine? You know what I'm saying? I felt like there was a little bit of genuine judge. You know what I'm saying? It was a little genuine judge in there, but it didn't come off right for the rest of the girls. Leah, particularly, who is, to me, I would just be thankful that I ain't sick no more. Okay. But she at the table, she talking about, well, wasn't your ex-husband a part of the cartel and you got kids with him? And Alexia's like, girl, you just want something to do. You just want to say something shocking. The other day it was you bored. Now you bringing up something about my past that don't got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So go ahead and sit down over there and be quiet, okay? Now this is where I feel like it was Judge Judy, because Marisol chimes in and says, girl, you was on the pole. I would never let my kids see me on the pole. But I'm like, I didn't know Marisol was a parent. And most certainly, she's not a parent to Whitney's children. So beyond that, you are drinking every day from morning to night. I don't see nothing wrong with a little swing around the pole. Listen, them kids at Giselle, Giselle and her messy self said it best. If Whitney wants to do the substances in front of her children, let her do that. First of all, I was like, Giselle, you know what? See, I don't sometimes I know y'all be disagreeing with me. I know y'all do. But sometimes Giselle is funny to me. And I just it's because she's so unserious. Like she's so unserious. It's like y'all remember back in season 4 when they was talking about Michael Darby allegedly. Robin had mentioned Michael Darby allegedly saying that he wanted to suck up on a sausage or something like that. And Giselle was at the dinner table. It was at Candiace's house, and she was like, if he wants to suck a little D, who cares if you want to suck a little D? I was like, it's not funny, but it's funny to me. Like I did I gotta tell y'all the truth when it's really happening to me. I was tickled, okay, and so I laughed. And so anyway, all of this is really leading to, also too, I forgot to mention, Giselle incites a little bit of chaos with Marisol and Alexia on the way there, as she tends to do, by asking what the tension was about at the table. And basically, Alexia still feels some kind of way because she feels like Marisol don't really have her back during their seasons of Miami when the other girls be coming for her. But Alexia also got to realize that she says some inflammatory things at times things that she's not really willing to take back. And so she kind of reminds me of Teresa from New Jersey. And I think Gizelle said that she feels like, Alexia feels like Marisol should be grateful because Marisol is technically on Miami still at this point because of Alexia, because she's only on as a friend. I was like, that's an interesting assessment. But I also think it stems from, if you've watched this show, Marisol has never really been a confrontational girl. I mean, when you look back in the seasons, earlier seasons, when it came down to confrontation, Marisol was running from it. So, I mean, what do you expect? I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, I mean, your friend can have your back, but your friend can't fight these battles that you keep finding yourself in. So, I mean, people don't owe you blind loyalty. However, I mean, it would be much better that your friend said nothing versus jumping on the bandwagon when they know you wrong. So I don't know. I'm in the middle on that one. Overall, at the end of the day, they have searched high and low for this tequila, as Giselle is still asking about it in her post-filming confessional. Nobody found it. However, Candiace, or I think it was Leah that gifted Candiace a bottle of Casa Azul. So they were kind of laughing about it, but I don't think that was the bottle of Casa Azul. What we also got as like a little epilogue was Whitney and Heather talking about taking a shot of Giselle's Casa Azul that Pepsi had gifted her. Now, the other thing Heather reveals in this little epilogue is that behind the showers was the perfect place to put the Casa Azul. So in my mind, I was like, did Heather and Whitney put the Casa Azul someplace where Giselle couldn't find it? Was it there all along? Did they, in fact, steal the Casa Azul? Was it, in fact, Heather all along behind the showers? Let me know in the comment section down below, because I think somebody did get that bottle of Casa Azul. It was a real thing. So I need to know. Sherlock Homeboy is on the case. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all thought of Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip Season 3. I am hearing rumblings that Season 4 will be out in September. So that should be interesting. And it wouldn't shock me if we heard about another season filming at some point in time very soon. So make sure to stay tuned to the channel. Keep it locked, and I will catch you all in the next video.